Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMZ diwan-e-ghalib-meri-zubaani. To all our returning viewers, welcome back. We are delighted you could join us again. And for the new viewers, we are happy you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Today's episode is part of the DGMZ Miniseries that we are currently running, titled Layla-e-Majnun. Of course, as the name suggests, the series is dedicated to the immortal love story of Layla-e-Majnun. As part of this series, we are narrating the story from a book. In addition, we are also exploring the story through other art forms like Urdu poetry, paintings, etc. There's a dedicated playlist. Feel free to explore that. Now, in today's episode, we are going to continue the story from chapter 38 onwards. But before I get into the narration, DGMZ would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate Suluk Press Publishing House for allowing us to narrate this story from their publication titled The Story of Layla-e-Majnun Nizami, translated from the Persian and edited by Rudolph Gelpke. English version in collaboration with E. Matin and G. Hill. Final chapter translated from the Persian by Pirzia Inayat Khan and Omid Safi. Now, the description section of this episode will have a link to this book for viewers who want to own a copy. In addition, we will also post links of the DGMZ Ghazal episodes, where Ghalib mentions Layla Majnun in one of his couplets. So, let us get into the story for today. Start of narration. The story of Layla-e-Majnun. Chapter 38. Thus Majnun, in the darkness of night, cried out to the stars from the depths of his tortured heart. But there was no response. The heavens remained silent, and the human soul froze in the ice-cold glow of the stars. Seeing them go on their way unconcerned, he suddenly understood. They could not show him the way out of his despair. They were blind and deaf. Their glittering splendor was mute. What did human agony mean to the stars? Yet he raised his voice for the third time. Where they are ruled, there is a ruler. He who is not heard by creation may be heard by the Creator. And so Majnun prayed to him, who has created everything on earth and is without need. Start of quotes. Where is my refuge, if not with you? Venus and Jupiter are your slaves, and your name is the wellspring of all names. Your knowledge towers above all knowledge, and your bounty is beyond all prices. There is no chain which you could not break. You are the judge, the Lord of all being. The deeds of the great ones of the world are your deeds, and you come to the help of those who need you in their misery. We are all prisoners in chains, every one of us, and there is no help for those whom you do not help, O God. The seven heavens and all they may contain lie at your feet. All things great and small, high and low, obey every gesture of your hand. The eye which saw you would be extinguished in yours for eternity. The soul of him who is your dog remains pure. Woe to those who are not with you, but against you. I was earth, dark and heavy. Your grace has changed me into pure water. So I am dead to myself. Do not let me lose my way and perish. Do not exclude me from your charity. Only your grace can change my darkness to light and lift me out of the black night of my fate into your eternal day. When Majnun had ended his prayer, a deep calm overcame him. His eye no longer roamed over the night sky. His heart felt at home, and when sleep gently touched his shoulder, he did not notice it. He had a strange dream. A tree grew out of the ground in front of him. Quickly, it reached great height and extended its crown towards the center of the sky. Following its growth with his eyes, Majnun suddenly noticed a bird fluttering fearlessly through the leaves towards him from the farthest branch. Something glittered in its beak like a drop of light. Just over Majnun's head, the bird let it drop. It was a jewel which fell onto the crown of Majnun's head and remained lying there, a shining diadem. The sleeper awoke. Already the rosette fingers of the new day had touched the seam of the horizon. The treasured dream vanished. Still, Majnun's whole being was flooded by a feeling of happiness such as he had not experienced for a long time. Did the bird of his soul take wing? Did not his body feel light, as if it could fly? Thus, a dream may bring fulfillment at night to those who must live out their days without love. The story of Layla and Majnun, Chapter 39. Sometimes a dream's reflected radiance enlightens our day. That is what happened to Majnun. It was a day which made every eye shine brighter. One of those mornings which waft a scent of paradise over the world, as if its breeze were the breath of the Messiah, awakening the dead. How could the seed of misfortune prosper in such an hour? Fate itself had grown tired of abuse. It had sent out happiness. But was it not too late? Let us see. Majnun was sitting in one of his retreats on a mountain slope, protected by rocks and, as always, surrounded by his animals. Suddenly, he noticed in the far distance, at the bottom of the valley, a small cloud of dust. Violet colored, it whirled into the silver light of the morning. The small cloud came nearer. It looked like a veil over a woman's face. And just as one can sometimes picture the face hidden beneath it, Majnun perceived a rider in the haze. What did he want here? What was he looking for? All alone, when near or far there was no tent, no path. Perhaps he was looking for him, Majnun. But the face and figure of the rider were unfamiliar. Now the man, still far away, jumped from the saddle and continued his way up the mountain on foot. He proceeded slowly, carefully, and with difficulty, for he was old. Or was he afraid of the court surrounding the king of the wilderness? Was he an enemy? Majnu was reminded of the black camel rider who once brought him the ill-fated tidings of Layla's marriage. But there was no resemblance to that fearsome messenger. The old man's face was noble and dignified. By now, the animals had become restive, warning the stranger. A slight growl became audible here, a snarl there. There was a scratching of the ground, a tapping, a stealing forward. But Majnu lifted his hand, and at once all became quiet. Then he rose, advanced towards the unknown visitor, and when he reached him, spoke kindly to him. "Shining star, where does your journey take you? You and I, we do not know each other. Tell me, what good do you bring me? I like your face, but look, my animals there do not trust you. Neither should I. Who has once been bitten by a serpent will be afraid thereafter even of an innocent coil of rope. And I, you must know, have been bitten not by a serpent, but by a veritable dragon. Some time ago, another rider came to me and drove a thorn right into my heart. Its point still lodges inside and causes pain. If, therefore, you have come to do the same as he, you had better keep silent and retrace your steps." The stranger, hearing these words, threw himself at Majnu's feet like a shadow and replied, "Noblest among noble creatures, you have made the beasts of wilderness your companions. Ghazals give you their love, and you stroke lions as if they were house cats. You and yours need not be afraid of me. I am not your enemy, but a friend, carrying a message from your beloved. A secret message, tidings such as no one has brought before, from her to you alone. Now you know. With your permission, I shall talk, but if you prefer me to remain silent, I shall return the way I came." Such words Majnu had not expected. His heart began to dance in feverish hope, and he exclaimed, "If it is so, speak, speak quickly." "I know," the old man began, "that your horoscope has behaved like an obstinate horse trying to throw its rider, but why should it not be possible to tame it? To begin, let me tell you what has happened to me. Only a few days ago, I passed a tented camp, and close by was a garden, a grove with water, flowers, and palm trees. As I let my eyes roam about, what did I see but someone sitting there alone, nearly hidden amongst the leaves? Someone. Well, let me tell you, I thought I was looking through the trees at a veiled star which had just dropped from the sky. A moon, a sun. I can only say that she was sitting there in this garden as if she herself were part of the garden of paradise. Because you must know that it was she. A little stream ran through the oasis, but when this girl, with eyes like a gazelle, began to talk, the words emerged from the wellspring of her lips so sweetly that all the other rippling waters cease to murmur and to splash, listening to her dreamily. And her eyes, even your lion would fall asleep like a hare once the eyes of this gazelle fell on him from behind her veil. All the beauties of our written characters are united in her. Her hair is waved like the letter Jim, slender and lithe, like an aleph is her figure, and her mouth is curved like a meme. Adding these three letters together, you get the word jam, which means goblet. And that is what she really represents, a miraculous goblet whose mirror reflects the secret of the world. Her eyes are narcissi, flowering at the mouth of a spring, and when you look into their calyxes, you can see her wondrous dreams. But what am I saying? Her beauty blossoms like light radiating from the eye, like life-giving breath, but it is marred by suffering and weakness, which have bent her figure. Pearls of sorrow glint in the corners of her eyes, and the swaying reed has become a flute of sadness. The purple is muted to palest gold. After this attempt to describe Layla's appearance, he continued, "Believe me, all her hopes are concentrated on you, and fear alone induced her to marry. I saw her weeping, and it was as if a veil of moonlight enveloped the sun. How piteous a sight! I approached her and asked, 'Who are you? And why so sad? For whom are you weeping?' She lifted her face, her sweet lips smiling with grief, and replied, 'Why do you pour salt into my wounds? Let me tell you that once I was Layla. Now I am Layla no longer. I am madder, more Majnun than 1,000 Majnus. Is not Majnu the black star, a vagrant tormented by love? But my torments are 1,000 times greater. It is true, he also is a target for the arrows of pain, but he is a man, I am a woman. He is free and can escape. He need not be afraid, can go where he likes, talk and cry, and express the deepest feelings in his poem. But I am a prisoner. I have no one to whom I can talk, no one to whom I can open my heart. Shame and dishonor would be my fate. Sweetness turns to poison in my mouth. Who knows my secret sufferings? I cover the abyss of my hell with dry grass to keep it hidden. I am burning day and night between two fires. Now love cries out in my heart, 'Get up, flee like a partridge from this raven father, this vulture husband.' Now reason admonishes me, 'Beware of disgrace. Remember, a partridge is not a falcon. Submit and bear your burden.' Oh, a woman may conquer a hero and enslave him so that he lies prostrate at her feet. Still, she remains a woman, unable to act. She may thirst for blood and show the courage of a lioness. Still, she remains tied to woman's nature. As I cannot end my suffering, nothing is left for me but to yield. I am not allowed to be with Majnu, but I hunger for news of him. How does he spend his days? Where does he stay? What does he do as he roams the desert? Has he any companions? Who are they? What does he say? What does he think? If you know anything about him, stranger, tell me, I implore you. These were Layla's own words, and well, I see you today for the first time, face to face, but already I know much about you. I have not grown old and seen the world for nothing. Do not people everywhere tell of you and your love? Who is better known among the Arabs? How strange. Everyone knows Layla alone is not allowed to hear. Is that fair? That is why I stayed for a while and talked to her of you. My words left an impression on her heart, like a seal in wax. Majnu lives alone, I told her, without family or friends, like a hermit, wrapped in memories of his love. His only companions, so I have heard, are animals, which shun men, antelopes, wild asses, and others. But a love like his is too strong for man's weak nature. Suffering has broken him, and his mind has become sick. Then his father died, and this new blow bent him even lower. Thus, fate strews his path with thorns day after day, and he has become the poet of his own misfortune. His verses tell the story of his grief and his love, and tears stream from his eyes like 1,000 torrents. Often he laments his dead father in words which would draw tears from a black stone. Thus I spoke, reciting some of your lines which I know by heart. She gave a deep sigh and trembled. Her head dropped as if she were about to die. Far from you. She wept for a long time, lamenting your father's memory, saddened because you were now doubly alone, and she could not be with you to share your grief. Then suddenly decision came to her. Pointing out her tent in the distance, she said, "Your mind is noble and your heart is pure. I trust you. Swear that you will return tomorrow. In the meantime, down there in my tent, I shall write a letter to Majnu and hand it to you. Then I want you to search until you find him. Will you?" I promised, and so we met again the next day. In honor of your father, she wore a dark blue dress, a mourning robe. In its folds, she had hidden a sealed letter. She gave it to me. Here it is. The old man took a letter from his bag, kissed it, and handed it to Majnu. Could he know how much this meant to the lover? At first, there was no sign. Majnu stood as if dreaming with open eyes. Without a word, he kept staring at his hands, which held the sealed message. Was it too much for him? Had it come too suddenly? Did he not understand? Was it more than he could bear? Was it not a gift more precious to him than all the treasures of the world? Suddenly, a demon seemed to seize his rigid figure. Like a raving madman, he tore the rags from his body. Then he began to dance, ever faster, ever wilder. He leapt high into the air, turning into a whirling top, again and again, hundreds of times. He did not stop until he collapsed. Unconscious, he lay on the ground, motionless as the stones around him, like a man whom wine has driven to raving madness and then cut down, robbed of his senses. But his fingers still gripped the paper tightly, and when he came to, his first glance was at the letter. His heart was beating more calmly, and he broke the seal. End of narration. So, that was chapter 38 and 39. Lot to take in, right? Yes. So let's do some brief impressions of both the chapters before we go ahead and end the episode. So chapter 38, Majnun's prayers to the stars in the previous chapter go unanswered, and all he receives from the heavens above is silence and an ice-cold glow that freezes Majnun's human soul. Nizami writes, seeing them go on their way unconcerned, he suddenly understood. They could not show him the way out of his despair. They were blind and deaf. Their glittering splendor was mute. What did human agony mean to the stars? So, though that prayer he does to Venus and Jupiter is so heartfelt, it does go in vain. There is no response, there is no answer. And then in this chapter, chapter 38, Majnun does that one thing that never fails. And he does it to that one person, right? That one person who never fails to respond. Majnun humbles himself in front of God and prays to him for his mercy, his benevolence, his grace, his refuge, his blessing that would take away the curse Majnun's life has become. And this is a part of the prayer which is very touching. Majnun prays, I was earth, dark and heavy. Your grace has changed me into water. So I am dead to myself. Do not let me lose my way and perish. Do not exclude me from your charity. Only your grace can change my darkness to light and lift me out of the black night of my fate into your eternal day. And then after this heartfelt prayer to God, Majnun goes to sleep. And then Nizami details this surreal dream that Majnun has. If I was to interpret it, it was God answering him, God giving him a very clear, vivid sign that your prayer from the night has been heard. I am here, and this is me showing you that I am laying my hand on you. I am going to protect you. And in this dream, Majnun sees this shining jewel descend from heaven and come and rest on his head. Very, very symbolic of a blessing, right? And when Majnun wakes up, he is a completely different being in his soul. in his heart. He, after a long, long time, feels happy and light. He doesn't feel the heaviness of grief for the very first time. And Nizami kind of seals this whole experience with this line: thus a dream may bring fulfillment at night to those who must live out their days without love. Moving on to chapter 39. This is the chapter, right? This is when Majnu finally sees his prayers being manifested. So chapter 39 describes the day of miracle for Majnu, after he has prayed last night and called out to God, as part of chapter 38. Nizami writes, fate itself had grown tired of abuse. It had sent out happiness. What a beautiful line. Very well written. And so in this chapter, Majnu is visited by a messenger from Layla, who tells Majnu, you and yours need not be afraid of me. I am not your enemy, but a friend, carrying a message from your beloved. A secret message, tidings such as no one had brought before, from her to you alone. And the stranger, in great detail, describes to Majnu how he was passing by a garden where he saw a figure hidden in the leaves, right? And then he goes on to describe Layla's beauty very eloquently, very poetically, ending it by saying that though so beautiful, the grief, the misery, the heartbreak that she carries inside her has put a veil on this beauty. And he tells Majnu that her grief from a distance, right, just watching her from a distance, the grief she was emanating was so heartbreaking that this messenger actually approaches her and asks her, who are you and why are you so sad? Why are you so despondent? And that is when Layla and the messenger get talking. Layla describes to him in great detail how painful, how miserable, how torturous her life is without Majnu, and how she feels caged, imprisoned in her life, thanks to her father and her husband. And I love the way Layla describes herself to the messenger, right? She says, let me tell you that once I was Layla, now I am Layla no longer. I am madder, more Majnu than 1,000 Majnus. This is the way she describes her, and this is the way the messenger the messenger describes Layla. I saw her weeping, and it was as if a veil of moonlight enveloped the sun. And then Nizami ends the chapter with Majnu having the messenger lay in Majnu's hand the biggest treasure of all, the answer to all his prayers, his life source itself, Layla's letter. So that was chapter 38. Majnu prays to the Almighty, and chapter 39, a messenger from Layla. I hope you enjoyed the impressions and the narration. If you did, do leave a comment, share your thoughts with us. As I said in the beginning of the episode, Layla Majnun has its own dedicated playlist, this mini series. The playlist has all the episodes of the narration from the book, also episodes with paintings of Layla and Majnun, and then some episodes about around Shairi, Urdu poetry on Layla and Majnun. So go ahead, explore that playlist and access the episodes that interest you. I'm going to go ahead and close this episode now. I'm sending a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.